Hello, I'm Clemence Lemaistre. I'm editor-in-chief in charge of digital news and innovation at Les Echos. And I'm going to tell you how podcast helped me to turn into innovation and old editorial team. First of all, let me introduce you to Les Echos. The newspaper was founded in 1908. After the Second World War, it became the leading economic newspaper in France. It now belongs to the LVMH Group, who work there about 100 reporters and specialized journalists. In January 2019, we decided to work on a podcast inspired by the daily of the New York Times. It took us several months of brainstorming and training, and we launched La Story in May 2019. It is a 20-30 minutes program on a single topic. La Story is a small team of 3 people. The presenter and the production assistant belonged to the newsroom. Only the sound engineer was hired externally. The speakers are reporters and columnists of the newsroom. To work on our podcast, we sought help from an outside consultant. Binge Audio helped us refine the concept, hire the sound engineer, and test the voice of the journalist interested in podcast. Why did we choose a journalist from the newsroom? We wanted someone who knew, understood, and embodied the editorial opinions of Les Echos. It was important that he was appreciated by the other journalists. At first, the journalists who are already overwhelmed didn't want to collaborate. But we finally involved them because they had lack of time, fear of speaking on a microphone, and lack of knowledge about podcasts. But we needed them to be part of the adventure. To involve them, we explained that it is barely any extra work, as they already know almost everything on the topic they are asked about. We enhance their know-how, their knowledge, and their experience. You know, like me, that journalists work on ego, and it worked. We wanted to do our test number on the problems facing the Boeing 737 MAX. And that was a real challenge, as the aero journalist can be a bit of a grumpy. He finally said yes, and the recording was a true success. The day after, I sent him an email to thank him for his participation. Despite his initial reluctance, in the end, he was delighted to have participated. Here's our email conversation. Me. Hello, Bruno. Thank you so much for yesterday's podcast. Pierrick told me that you were great. His answer. I personally think that it's you who is great. When I see the energy and the intelligence that you brought, you actually convinced me to do some more. Have a good day. Often editors-in-chief are wary of developing new products, but innovation is actually a way to motivate journalists. It offers them a welcome change from their daily routine. It is the proof that they are part of a living, modern and evolving media. At Les Echos, the podcast gave some of the reporters a feel for innovation. Some journalists have developed a new format of article inspired by La Story. Our London correspondent, a bit bored with Brexit, I understand him, keeps on asking to try some new formats. Let me share with you a few stats about La Story. We recorded 336 episodes. About half of the reporters participated at least once. Nowadays, many journalists come to offer their service. Today, I can say La Story is a great success. You can see it in these figures. In May 2019, we had 70,000 plays. In last March, during the lockdown of France, we had a peak with more than 760,000 plays. La Story reaches around 6.5 million plays in total. Most of it is played on Apple Podcasts. I'm afraid Google Podcast is only 1% of the listening. Let me share with you this September top 5. We have some Apple, some Donald Trump, the kid trapped in an adult's body, Veolia Suez, Trump again, and Brexit, a full strategy about Boris Johnson. And the all-time top 5, which is almost only on COVID, except one on the retirement reform that was very important in France. I'm glad to tell you, according to an official ranking made by an independent institution, that La Story is the 3rd podcast most played in France. We hope it will be 2nd in September. We'll know it next week. Cross fingers. Thank you for your attention.